We've bought our tickets, packed our bags, and put on our traveling pants because this is Spaced Out Sunday. I'm your host, Everett Thiemer, and we are happy to welcome you, along with Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio, to tonight's broadcast. If you happen to miss any part of tonight's show, you can listen to our archives for free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including keeping up to date on the weird news of the world, as well as Florida Man's latest adventures, a Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, finding a book to read on these long, cold winter nights in the We Read the Night section, or joining the Space Travelers Club, where for $5 a month, you can join our forums, check out some exclusive content. In fact, I think our own Florida man, Kelly Iyer, uploaded a new Iyer report just the other day. Join the chat. There's so much to do in there. You've got to get in there and just check it out. And, of course, tonight's show is brought to you by the fine people at Chive Charities. Please head on over to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, chivecharities.org, as we work to make the world 10% better. Tonight, the paranormal lawyer, Michael W. Hall, has been kind enough to join us. Michael is an attorney, retired judge, and founder of the UFO I-Team, as well as a friend and frequent contributor to Spaced Out Radio, as you probably heard on the roundtable this past Friday night. Tonight, we're going to do something a little different. We certainly will get into some alien and paranormal talk, but I know that many of us are feeling tired, either excited or really disappointed, and probably a little bloated. So rather than dig too deep into theories and facts, we're going to take a little journey. Over the holiday season, Michael had the opportunity to travel across the country by rail, and I've wanted to talk to him about it pretty much since he got off the train back in his home state of Washington. We had thrown out a plethora of dates, but we couldn't make it work with our schedules until we came to tonight. And as serendipity would have it, we put it on our calendars, not even realizing that there was a big game being played tonight. And since Michael had the opportunity to be part of a halftime show way back a few years, we might even get into the thoughts on how those have changed over the years, too. Michael, I want to thank you so much for joining us. This is something I've wanted to talk to you about since you first announced that you were taking this trip.
Well, Everett, I tell you what, I am just so pleased to be here tonight of all nights. Not only is it Super Bowl Sunday, but it was Groundhog's Day as well with the 2020, which, of course, it's a palindrome or whatever they call that. You can go forward and backward, and it's the same date. Only happens once every 900 years. So I think this is kind of fun that you and I got together tonight to kind of hash over some old stuff, tell some stories, maybe about the holiday season, how we survived, and maybe even get back to some of those Super Bowl days as well, when we were both in our youth, back then. So I'm going to have fun tonight.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and we will get into some of the weird and strange talk for those that are disappointed that maybe they think we're not going to. But from the little bit of talking that we did about your trip, you ran into a little bit of that anyway that you'll tell us about. But tell us what first. Just give us sort of an outline of what you did and how you came about having the opportunity.
Yeah, well, let me just lay the groundwork of how this whole Christmas on the rails, holiday season traveling on the train happened. Because, as you know, Everett, every year I love to write. I've got, about 5 novels up on Amazon.com and 15 short stories. I'm always writing something and keeping a diary of our, activities on the UFO I-Team, that kind of thing, our scientific analysis, all that kind of stuff. Because I figure we need to share all this stuff. We just don't need to go out and experience it. We need to not red pill people, but we need to kind of share the data that we are. And I was thinking, what am I going to write about this time? And it hit me. I've always really enjoyed those kind of offbeat Christmas shows sometimes, those films like The Night Before Christmas, the Polar Express. Remember that animated film, about the little boy who takes imaginary train all the way to the North Pole, for the unveiling of the first gift of Christmas. And the beautiful book that it was based upon, and the images that were painted in that story. It was a great Christmas story. So, and of course, the ultimate is, A Christmas Carol. The story of Ebenezer Scrooge and being visited by, the three ghosts of Christmas. And he finds out what the true meaning of, the Christmas season's all about. So I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do this year for my Christmas story? And it kind of dawned on me, what if I wrote a story similar to the Polar Express, but let's call it the Paranormal Express? It kind of like fits, it's like you can imagine boarding a train, a mysterious train, and going across, on a major trip, and maybe stopping off at paranormal hotspots, throughout the United States, or even if you were, really adventurous and going something like the Orient Express, across Europe, or the Siberian Express, and all the strange things that could happen on a train. So I got the bug and I said, okay, I'm going to write a story called Christmas on the Paranormal Express, because I had to write a Christmas story, right? So how was I going to, kind of meld the two, maybe a paranormal holiday tale with a long, incredible train trip? So I started writing, started doing some research about the trains, the famous, runs out there. Through the northern part of the United States, there's the Lakeshore Limited, there's the Empire Builder. Down south out of Los Angeles is called the Southwest Chief. All these major, these are, routes and train trips that even my grandfather used to talk to me about as a child, because my grandfather on my mother's side was an old railroad guy, and his uncles and cousins, they all got jobs on the railroad, and of course were traveling around. This was almost like being a seafaring sailor in the old days, where you would get a job on the railroad and you would have stories about wild and strange events happening all across the United States. And you come back to your small little town, and I'd be a kid sitting in the front room of my grandmother's house, big old stone mansion, literally made out of basalt rock in Walla Walla, Washington. When I was a kid, listening to these older gentlemen, they're in their 40s and 50s, but I'm thinking they're ancient.
That's not so old.
Exactly. I'm 67 now, and I'm going, wow, those are good old days, the 50s, when you're 50 years old. And I'm listening to these stories being told. And so I decided, well, let's do that. Let's kind of think of some kind of strange trip that I could put together. And then here's the funny thing, Everett. All of a sudden, I do a little research as I'm going along. That's the cool thing about being a writer these days, as you know, Everett, is that you've got a dictionary and a computer in your hands on your phone. And so as I'm typing away, and actually I thumb my as I write. That's how I write my novels. I literally, 500 or 1,000, 100,000 words is nothing, to be thumbing on a phone. But you can immediately go and check things out. You can check dates. You can do research, while you're doing this. And while I was writing the story, all of a sudden I run across this little note that said that Amtrak has a writers in residency program. And I'm going, no way. Wouldn't that be cool that you would actually get to be able to, what they would do in this program, by the way, just so you know, for your own purposes or your audience purposes out there, is they take submissions from anybody who wants to write and publish something. You don't even have to be a novelist or a published author. But if you have a unique story and if you have something to say in writing, they will pay for your train trip. They will allow you to have nice lodging on board. They'll give you a roomette or a room, and they'll pay your food as well. They'll give you a ticket to go round trip to any destination that Amtrak travels in the Northern Hemisphere, basically, United States, Mexico, Canada, that kind of thing. And I thought, wow, what a romantic idea, Everett, to get on a train with nothing to worry about, just going for a week, more than a week, 10 days, let's say, and traveling through various landscapes, not a care in the world. It's not like you're driving or even on a bus. You literally are immersed in your atmosphere as you go on a train. Literally, the outside world is only inches away from your nose. It's not across a few lanes of traffic. It's not thousands of feet below you in an airplane. It's just a beautiful scenery passing by you 24 hours a day for as long as you're riding that train. And of course, you've got that, it's almost like a primal feeling of the rhythm of the rails. There is a feeling of the locomotion and the swaying and the vibration of the coach itself that is very lulling and satisfying, actually, and kind of puts you in that mood of, getting in touch with wherever you go, to write. Because I think that's very important for writers to get into that zone, that we're used to when we really kind of matter of fact, in the old days, I used to be real paranoid about writing, and I used to outline everything, the story and maybe characters, and kind of do all that before I even start. Nowadays, I find myself just sitting down with a blank document on my phone and just starting to write whatever comes forth at the moment and letting it take me for wherever it goes. So that's what I was attempting to do. While I was writing this Christmas story, I come up with the idea, wow, what if I did that, combined it with the Amtrak Writer in Residence program. Now, here's the deal. I didn't have enough time to apply and be accepted into this program. So basically, I bought my own ticket. And I basically thought, I could go coach. I could go roomette. I could go, full-blown traveling compartment. And I decided after I did some research that I was just going to go coach. And so I purchased myself a very inexpensive ticket, by the way, across the entire United States from basically the Seattle area to New York City, the Big Apple, and back for $500.
Oh, wow.
That's how cheap it was. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I'm going, okay, well, it's a little bit spendy for me, but if I didn't have to pay for a hotel, I'm sleeping on the train. If I didn't have to pay, the food is relatively inexpensive, so I always had to, and I packed some snacks and, power bars and those kinds of things. So I knew it wasn't going to cost that much money to eat, let alone with my bariatric surgery. I can't eat very much anymore anyway. So I basically did the whole trip for about a $500 charge and literally spent 10 days on the train.
So you spent 10 days in coach on a train.
Yeah, you got it.
Well, can you describe for the listeners maybe a little bit of what coach is like? Because I picture that as when you say you can get coach or a roomette or a cabin, I can kind of picture traveling in a little roomette or a cabin. But when you say coach, I'm thinking we're setting ourselves up to be uncomfortable for the next week and a half.
Yes, that's kind of what I thought as well, until I really kind of did the research and looked into the thing and watched some videos, about people traveling across the country by train. And I'll tell you what, we're all used to airplane travel, where we're pretty much jammed in 3 seats across, maybe, barely fitting into the middle seat, and there's 2 people on either side. One of them is, what used to be my weight, about 370 pounds in the old days, and leaning over into the aisle, trying to make sure the other person has enough room, and no leg room in front, just barely enough to put your luggage there if you were doing something like a carry-on that you didn't want to put overhead. In coach, in a railway car, in an Amtrak coach, is so roomy you would not believe it, Everett. There is only 2 seats across, a large center aisle, 2 seats on the other side. Now, these seats are, twice as wide almost as an airline seat. Let's put it that way. I never had a problem even touching the hand rests on either side where I sat. And the leg room in front is so spacious, you can literally stretch your feet out, your legs out as far as you can go, and you still have room. Matter of fact, I had enough room underneath the seat in front of me to not only stretch my legs out, but to actually put my CPAP machine on the floor under the seat in front of me and use my CPAP machine to sleep with at night, just so I wouldn't snore and annoy the person sitting next to me. And I would get good sleep as well, because believe it or not, there are electrical outlets at every seat on a coach or every place on a train. You don't have any problem keeping your electronic devices fully charged. The things that you want to use, for instance, like your CPAP machine. I did all that research ahead of time. They encourage all that stuff. And then your seat folds back so far, literally, that you're almost laying down flat. It's not quite, but, it's very, very comfortable to sleep in. There's heat, there's air conditioning, there's all sorts of amenities on the train. A lot of people will bring still a blanket with them in coach, and they might even bring a pillow or those little neck pillows you put around your neck sometimes, just to make sure you're very comfortable while you sleep. But I have never had a problem sleeping on the train, and literally with that swaying, the rhythmic motion of the travel, and the kind of like the vibration that you get from the rails itself is so soothing. I really enjoyed it, as you can tell.
I can hear it in your voice. And, we've got a break here in about 4 minutes. And when we come back, we're going to dig into the people you've met, you got to meet, and some of the sites that you had the opportunity to see. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it when you were at Union Station in Chicago, but you came to Union Station at the right time, because they, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, they go Christmas crazy at Union Station in Chicago.
Exactly.
But I'm surprised, what about showering? I know it sounds like a strange question, but what about showering?
They've got full bathrooms and showers on the train, even in coach. It is just amazing. Of course, Matter of fact, here's one thing that I immediately was surprised at. I never had to wait to go to the restroom. There are so many restrooms for every car. Matter of fact, most cars are double deck. You've got the upper deck and you've got the lower deck. And typically the restrooms are on the lower deck. And in just one car, you might have 4 or 5 restrooms that are available. I never had to wait. And the restrooms are large as well. You know, the small ones on an airplane are a little challenge in some respects. There are literally wheelchair accessible restrooms on a train as well, which is kind of fascinating. But that was fun. And they actually have showers. You can take a shower. Matter of fact, they tell you just bring a pair of flip-flops with you. If you want to take a shower, you don't have to worry about walking around without any, barefoot, after you take a shower, that kind of thing. And it's fascinating how you can survive and go to your destination feeling refreshed and shaved and feeling good by the time you get there.
It sounds like Amtrak has the wrong PR people, because I did not realize that it could be this enjoyable. I mean, I kind of live or remember the glory days of train travel back in the like 50s, 60s. I mean, you and I were talking at one point about how it would be maybe very similar to the train scene in White Christmas. Yes.
Oh, yes. I just love that movie because of those train scenes. Danny Kaye and Doris Day and all those ladies, on the train, and they're bringing all their huge steamer trunks full of, clothing and everything. Very luxurious train travel back in those days. And I was a kid of 10 years old when my German uncles, who are all railroad guys, took me from New York City to Chicago by a train when we slept in those sleeper cars where the curtains come on the bunk beds and those kinds of things. Just like Some Like It Hot. That was another great train movie you got to go watch, with the great actors back in those days, Marilyn Monroe and those.
Was that Cary Grant?
No, it was Marilyn Monroe and Jack Lemmon and oh gosh.
You know what, Michael? While we try and remember who was in that movie, we're going to step out for a quick break here because it's already that time.
Well, fantastic.
We'll be right back on Spaced Out Sunday.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans. It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. For more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you addicted to the woo? Good. Me too. This is Dave Scott, and you can woo it up with me every Monday through Friday, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, for 3 hours of great entertainment in the subjects you love. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, intuition. Yes, we hit it all 5 days a week. Look for us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, my friends, we own the night.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Sundays. I am your host, Everett Thiemer, and I thank you for spending your evening with us. Don't forget, If you've missed any part of the show, you can check out our archives for free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping in the SOR Vault, joining the Space Travelers Club, and so much more. Tonight, we are talking to the one and only paranormal lawyer, Michael W. Hall. And we're not talking UFO sightings or ghost stories so much as we're talking about the trip that he had the opportunity to take this holiday season across the country by Amtrak train. And we're just starting to get into it, but it's really a cool story. There's a lot of fun things that happened. He got to meet a lot of interesting people. Michael, I want to say thank you so much for coming on and telling us this story.
Oh, Everett, I'm just so pleased as punch to be here with you tonight. Super Bowl Sunday and Groundhog's Day at the same time, and which is kind of fitting because Groundhog's Day, if you remember that film, is all about kind of doing the same thing or reminiscing about the past and doing it over and over again.
Yeah, I was on set for that film. That film was actually filmed.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it was filmed in my hometown, and I was working for some audio companies at the time, and we got to see. In fact, my office is actually in the film, but it wasn't my office yet.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, man, Everett. Did you happen to chance to meet Bill Murray at all?
I did.
You did? Well, tell us this story. That's fantastic.
There's not that much of a story. It was just at a little meet and greet kind of thing, and I got to meet Chris Elliott too, who at the time he was relatively unknown. He was probably mostly known for being the strange guy under the stairs or under the seats on the David Letterman show. I think at that point in time, that was probably his biggest claim to fame. But, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to see some of the stuff that they did. It was a lot of fun to see my town, because that's where I grew up. It was fun to see it transformed for a few months.
Oh, my goodness, I'll bet. Did you happen to catch, Everett, the Bill Murray Jeep Groundhog's Day commercial for the Super Bowl?
Yes, I did. In fact, I believe they were up in that town, up in Woodstock, to film some of it. And I have to go back and look at the commercial and look at the movie again, because I think I spotted an error. Oh,
I'll bet you'd be able to pick it out right away for sure. It's a fantastic commercial, by the way.
It is.
Jeep put a lot of, this is a cool Jeep. The newest Jeep that they've got coming out is just fantastic. But they got Bill Murray and they got the Groundhog. They got Punxsutawney Phil in the Jeep. And it's just like the movie. He wakes up and he ends up doing the same. And that, I don't know if you caught this. They got the same guy, that old actor that bugged Bill Murray day after day. Yeah. They got him back. It was hilarious.
I'm not sure if he's fully back or if those are cuts from the movie, but I will say the one error that I saw was, if you watch the commercial and you look in the background, you'll see a sign that says Woodstock Jewelers.
Oh.
And if I remember correctly, they had actually changed that sign. They changed many of the storefront signs on the square. Where a big part of it was filmed. I believe in the movie that sign was actually changed.
Yeah.
So
I'll bet.
I'm going to have to go back and look and see just because I want to know. But yeah, that is a fantastic commercial.
Yeah. There was some pretty awesome commercials as there usually are. So it's kind of, I think a lot of people watch them just for those, but anyway, back to the story, if you'd like.
Let's get back to your trip, because like we were talking off air, and I think we mentioned this on air, when you tell bits and pieces of the story, I feel like we're sitting on the set or as part of the movie White Christmas. It just has that feel to it.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about that classic film, with with Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, and I mentioned Doris Day before. It's not Doris Day, it's Rosemary Clooney. I got to correct myself there. And then you were correct to say that it was Vera Ellen that was the other blonde woman in the show. Great dancer, and you said like her waist is like 4 inches around. It was incredible, her figure. But I just thought that was a very romantic film. Just the train travel alone to me was romantic, and I thought, as we were mentioning off the air too, you and I have had some old time train experiences as children, as kids traveling around with adults and our families. So doing this again for me was just a fascinating way to spend the holidays. Now, here's the strange thing on this, Everett, is that this was probably the first time in my life where I had an opportunity during the holiday season to actually just take off. All of my 4 children are adults now. They're all grown and got, lives of their own, living out of the house. I don't even have a wife any longer. My lovely wife, we got a divorce, in 2012. So I'm kind of like finally getting back into the swing of things, doing things on my own. And I decided, well, this might be the only opportunity that I can do this and not have to worry about, any strings attached or any other distractions. So I decided, well, why not? And of course, I wrote the Christmas story prior to this to get ready for it. And then all of a sudden I said, hey, why don't I do that? Why don't I just get the story in real life and continue on with the process? So that's what I did. I left my little town of Edmonds, Washington on Christmas Eve day. Blustery, wintry day here in the Pacific Northwest. No snow on the ground out here in the Seattle area at that point. And I'm going down to my, there's a little train station in probably every town you ever lived in. But how many times do you actually go into that train station? Unless you use the train a lot. I didn't. I'd never even been inside of that thing. And it's such a quaint, really cool place. It's got old memorabilia in there from the old days on the trains, and the conductors' hats, and the old lights that they used to swing from the caboose, to tell everybody everything was clear. I had a fun time getting my tickets there, got them ahead of time, talked with some really great employees. They were telling me a little bit about what it was like, because I told them this was what I was doing. I was traveling across the United States writing a story called Christmas on the Paranormal Express. They all got into it. They said, oh, that's fantastic. And they're telling me all things to see and to stop and things to do on the train and things not to do on the train, kind of giving you some pointers and stuff. So left Edmonds on Christmas Eve day and literally spent Christmas Eve on the train, which is a unique experience. Can you imagine?
I wanted to ask you about that, because I can see that being both a little bit fun and festive, but I can also see that maybe there's some sadness there too.
Yeah, it was a mixed bag for sure. But in my stage of my life, I was just very at home. It was almost as if I was like watching this from outside of my body. Literally, because I'm like a writer. So I'm like taking notes, and I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing, taking it all in. I mean, there were people hustling and bustling, traveling during the holidays on the train, people wearing their holiday best. The kids are all dressed up in their nice new clothing, going to see grandma or the relatives, in some faraway location. They got all their baggage and luggage, and they're all excited to get there and to travel, for the holidays. And it's Christmas Eve. I'm on the train, and it's nice and warm and cozy on the train, believe it or not. It's almost like that scene in a Polar Express, where they got the hot chocolate, and the kids are in their footy pajamas, and Tom Hanks is going up and down the thing, punching everybody's ticket. I was just eating it all up. And so Christmas Eve on the train was quite a special time, actually, for me. Excuse me. I was really enjoying basically absorbing all the energy and the anticipation that everybody was displaying as they were traveling for the holidays.
That had to be sort of a surreal experience.
It was, because you know what, Everett? When you're on a train, you are not isolated, like I say, from your environment. As soon as you get out of town, as soon as the train starts moving down the track, you realize that your environment that you're going through, as you know, railroad tracks, they go through some interesting territory. They go through parts of town that you wouldn't normally go through. And then in traveling across the state, they go to parts of the state where you would not normally go through as well, because you're sitting there on the side of a mountain on two rails, and you're looking over the side, and it's just nothing but thousands of feet below you. And on the other side, there's like trees, go forever. And they're right outside the window. So it's not isolated at all. I really enjoyed the idea that you were immersed in your environment as you traveled, which kind of puts you in a different mindset. When you're not, there's a certain thing called windshield time when you're driving. And you kind of get into that zone of doing that, but you almost like kind of shut down the world and get into this, highway hypnosis kind of state, when you're on traveling somewhere, on your own. So it was kind of fun for me to forget about all that. You don't have to worry about traveling because you're just going wherever you're going to go without a care in the world, and you let your mind wander. And the whole idea of getting into the zone to write is so natural. Matter of fact, you go up. This is the cool thing. You take your little laptop, or in my case, my iPhone 6 Plus at the time, and you go up to the observation car, which is, a double-decker car with, coach on the bottom, coach class seats on the bottom. And then at the top of the observation deck are wraparound windows that come up full from the bottom of the side of the train all the way up over your head and wrap around, and it's like the stars are just sparkling. The scenery is like, all around you, and my goodness, it just really puts you in that mood of relaxation. When you got your feet up on a little rail there, you're looking sideways in a beautiful plush seat. You get to wander around and just walk all over the train if you want to, but it's kind of fun just to sit there and maybe have a hot coffee or cold drink, snack. They have all sorts of food you can buy, and just sit there and just type away, write your story.
Now, how did you get to interact with the other people? I can imagine that it's a little bit different than traveling by plane, where you get on the plane and 4 hours later or 3 hours later you get off and you pay little attention to the people around you. But here, even if they're on just one leg of your journey, you're probably on that train with them for 6-8 hours maybe.
Yes.
Were they how did you get people to talk to you or open up to you, or were people just generally a little bit more open on the train?
I think people are a little bit more open on the train. They realize that this is they're in this for the long haul. Most people will take the train because they want to go maybe a longer distance than driving. They don't want to fly for some reason, whether it's cost or just because they don't like leaving the ground or whatever. So they're kind of resigned to the fact that it's going to take a while to get there. And consequently, you're seated next to someone who you have literally hours to get to know. And here's the cool thing about it is if you're sitting next to someone you really don't want to know that well, you just get up and you wander around, and you can go to the dining car, you can go to the snack bar, you can go to the observation deck, and you can wander literally for miles on a train and get exercise if you wanted by just going back and forth and back between the cars and do all that stuff. So it's the best of both worlds as far as traveling goes. But I had the most amazing experience. And you know me, Everett, I am pretty outgoing, and I literally strike up conversations very easily, and typically will pass out my paranormal lawyer card. That's the first thing that'll start the conversation. And I tell you what, I get the stories like you won't believe. And of course, when you're on a train, you have the excuse of being able to just interview people and talk to them. And of course, I'm podcasting the entire trip anyway, with my little old iPhone, interviewing people and of course asking them if they wanted to be interviewed. And most people just had a great time allowing me to ask them questions about I wouldn't even have to ask. They would just say, "Oh, wow, you're in an interesting field. Let me tell you a story that happened to me." And I had those stories right and left. Matter of fact, one of them right off the bat, I ended up going to on the first evening on Christmas Eve. This was a cool deal. I decided I was going to splurge and have Christmas Eve full-blown holiday dinner on the train in the dining car. Okay. Now I don't.
Sounds cool.
Oh, it is. I mean, these are like, cloth tablecloths, cloth napkins, silverware. It's like, the old timey stuff where they really care about presentation. And you walk into the dining car and oh my gosh, the smells will just knock you over. The beautiful Christmas food that they've got already. You can imagine on a train for the holidays, they're really beefing up their dinners and their food and their breakfasts and all that stuff. So I decided to go have Christmas Eve dinner on the train. I did the whole thing, went for the whole, ham dinner and scalloped potatoes and, cranberry sauce, whatever I could get on the side, the whole thing. And it was worth it. It was very inexpensive, really. I think I probably paid $16, for a wonderful, Christmas Eve dinner that night. But here's the funny thing is that you go in and stand at the beginning of the car as soon as you get in there, and you wait to be seated by the waitress or the waiter, and you don't know where they're going to seat you and who you're going to be seated next to, because their job is to fill up all the tables. They don't want to have anything, any room go to waste. And so literally every time you go and have a meal, you're usually sitting next to someone that you don't know. And you get to know them very easily over the hour and a half, whatever 2 hours you're going to spend in the dining car, over a wonderful meal, with beverages and dessert, whatever you want to have. I sat next to this coach, this old retired basketball coach, who was telling me about his son, who just coincidentally was now employed by the Secret Service.
Oh.
Now, you can imagine me on the Christmas Eve. I'm on a train, and I'm in this wonderful dining car, and I'm sitting next to a gentleman I don't even know, and all of a sudden, we're starting to talk about JFK assassination stuff, the Secret Service that his son has just been entered into the federal agency service. But before that, he was also a drone pilot. Now get this, Everett. This guy was a drone pilot flying drones in Afghanistan during the war from Montana, in a bunker on an army base in Montana. And I'm going, fascinating. I can't believe this story. And his dad was so proud of his son, and it's Christmas Eve, and we're just sitting there trading stories back and forth about, stuff that's happening right now, and the things that I am interested in. Come to find out, this guy was probably in his 70s, but he had a conspiracy theory kind of attitude like I did, said, there's some stuff going on there that we don't know about. And he says his son told him stories of UFOs that he ran across as a drone pilot that he couldn't understand or explain, but he kept his nose to the grindstone and never really told anybody, about it, and all that kind of stuff. So that was my first really cool night on the train, just spending hours on end talking in the dining room car of an old basketball coach talking about his son.
Wow, that's interesting to run into just out of the blue. We've got about 2 minutes before we have to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to get deep into some of these stories. But can you tell us what it's like to wake up on Christmas morning on the train? Does Santa Claus come?
Oh, it was just amazing. Literally, I got a good night's sleep the Christmas Eve night. Normally I don't stay up very late at night, on Christmas Eve. Now that I'm living on my own, actually, I'm pretty much going to bed early. It's not like New Year's anymore where I stay up, late and watch the ball, come down for New Year's. So I'm going to bed early, and literally on Christmas morning, I wake up pretty doggone refreshed, sleeping with my CPAP machine all night long. And I'm looking out the window, Everett, and it is a snow-covered wonderland for Christmas morning. I am in the middle of Montana, basically, coming across Glacier National Park in Whitefish, Montana area. And it was just a magical moment, waking up Christmas morning to snow.
That's got to be a lot like a Christmas dream.
It was like, oh my, it takes you a second to realize, oh yeah, I'm on a train. I am not at home and it's snowing outside. It's just the most beautiful scene as far as you can see. Montana, there's nothing to obstruct your view. It's just beautiful out there.
Well, Michael, we've got to step out for our second break here. And when we come back, can we talk about some of these stories that people were sharing with you along the journey?
Oh, yeah. Let's get into them. That's fun.
That's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be right back on Spaced Out Sunday.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Come hang out with me, Little Richie G, as I take over the airwaves on Spaced Out Saturdays. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm going to bring you the most fun on the radio you can have with your clothes on. We're going to get to the heart of the subjects from UFOs to what's going on in the paranormal and everything in between. So come join me at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, for the fastest 3 hours of your week.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report. Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I'm bringing you the Woo every Monday through Friday on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going all out to bring you the strangest, oddest stories and subjects I could find for your entertainment. Why? Because when we hit peak Woo, I know I've done my job. So come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, and together, my friends, we own the night.
welcome back to Spaced Out Sunday. I'm your host, Everett Thiemer. Thank you for spending your evening with us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KDNF, AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN, AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. For our digital listeners, we are on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. And don't forget, you can check out our archives at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. That's what helps keep them free, and we want to keep them free. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping at the Spaced Out Radio Vault, and reading up on the SOR Newswire, where you can find Dave's weekly blog and so much more. Tonight, we're talking to Michael Hall, the paranormal lawyer, and he's telling us about his journey across the country on an Amtrak train. And I know that some of you might be scratching your head, but it's really an incredible story. It's a fun trip. And Michael, if people want to read a little bit more after they're done listening to you tell the story, where can people find some of the information, both on your trip and the story and your UFO work as well?
Oh yeah, thank you for that. We can send everybody to to Facebook at Michael W. Hall on Facebook, or they can go to UFO I-Team with a lowercase I as well. And there's also the Paranormal Michael W. Hall, the Paranormal Lawyer. There's a bunch of Michael W. Hall sites, at least 3 of them, that you can pick it out. Because what I've done is posted my blog cast up there at those websites. So people, if they really want to get into this story later on, if they'd like to kind of travel along with you and me on this trip, even while we're talking, you could follow along right now on Facebook. And see the images that I took, pictures, and the text that I wrote that accompany the photos as well, if they want to really get into it. And also the entire story that I wrote for Christmas last year, the Christmas on the Paranormal Express is on those Facebook pages as well, so people can actually read the story if they want to fall asleep at night.
No, it'll keep them up. It's an intriguing story. It's a fun story to read, and definitely a nice holiday story. That's something you don't see a lot of in writing anymore. Is a good old fashioned Christmas story. You've got the same 6 plots on the Hallmark Channel with all the movies and things like that. But I think kind of the sitting down on a winter's night as the holiday approaches and just reading is something that's lost on people. And this is something that is definitely worthy of taking the time while we're still here in the winter and the holidays have just passed, and taking a little bit of time and reading it.
Well, thank you for that nice review, Everett. That's wonderful. I tried to come up with a story that would be intriguing and also kind of tell the Christmas story as well. Talk about the whole idea of a unique birth, for instance, of God, of, a religion and the real meaning of Christmas, and put it into a semi-paranormal context, which is kind of a challenge. But I thought, what a great idea to combine that with a cross-country train trip as well, to unique locations across the United States and paranormal hotspots along the way.
So you wake up Christmas morning in Montana.
Yes.
You've already had one gentleman talk to you about his son who works for the Secret Service. When do you get that next paranormal story? When do people start to open up and have things they want to share with you?
Okay, well, almost at every meal that I, went into the dining room, the dining car, or, for instance, if I went and got a hot dog and chips and, a cold drink in the, what they call it's not a snack bar, but it's the lounge car, they call it, which is more informal food. but you can go in there and grab, a whole tray full of stuff, and then you can take it up to the observation deck. And you can go up there, and I'll tell you what, you run across folks everywhere you go. And people are very friendly, allowing you to sit at their table, in the there are also tables in the observation car where you can eat your dinner as well, eat your snack food there. And so I'm sitting there in the middle of Montana, and this is during the day now, where the weather is so crispy, beautiful, snow everywhere. Because I don't know, in Seattle area, we'll go through an entire holiday season sometimes without snow. It's very possible, although it's supposed to snow tonight, Everett, believe it or not, here in the Seattle area. So that'll be fun. But when you wake up not knowing that it's going to snow, and all of a sudden in the middle of Montana on Christmas morning, it's just blanketed with a gorgeous, beautiful white out there, farmland as far as you can see, farmhouses way out in the distance, covered with snow, and animals, horses in the field and cows in the field standing around in the snow, and the snow is still coming down. I was just having a great time having a kind of a snack up in the observation deck, when all of a sudden I get a tap on my shoulder. And I turn around, and oh my word, an old friend of mine taps me on the shoulder. His name is Kevin. I'll just say his first name. And he was an old buddy of mine from our church. Literally, we spent probably 15 years together singing in the church choir at one of the large Pentecostal churches that I attended with my wife at the time. And good buddy of mine, we were in both tenors together in this massive choir. It was like, it's one of those mega churches, literally, with a couple thousand people for one service, and then more like that for the second service. And all of a sudden, Kevin taps me on the shoulder and goes, "Mike." And we sit down and embrace, and we have a great time talking. I go, "Kevin, what the heck are you doing on the Amtrak?" Come to find out, my friend is now an employee of the Burlington Northern Railway. He is an engineer himself, and literally he is coming back from a run, an out of state run that he was on over Christmas, and he was now heading back to Montana, to his hometown, where he after his run, and he said that he had been watching my lead up to the trip as I was blogging and advertising what I was going to do, and he decided he was going to, if at all possible, hook up to a deadhead on the way back to his home on a line that he knew would intersect with my trip. And he wanted to surprise me on the train. And he figured if he didn't find me on the manifest as a passenger where I was supposed to be seated, because, these guys can tell each other that if they're employees, he figured I was in the observation deck. And sure enough, he found me. I couldn't believe it. So this is a big guy. He's a mountain of a man with a big beard, a long ponytail, Burlington Northern blaze jacket on, and we just had a fantastic time of him telling me about strange paranormal activity out in the middle of the country in Montana, where he is now living. Real quickly, he says that they did a study at one point to try to find the most isolated community in the contiguous United States. The town that would be the farthest away from normal amenities like McDonald's, Costco's, Walmart's, those kinds of things. And it come to find out it's his hometown where he's living now of Glasgow, Montana. And he told me, you know, Mike, to tell you how far away I am from society and anything that normally you would think about as your daily life. There is not a Walmart within 100 miles circumference of my front porch. Now I got to think about that. A Walmart. You got to be kidding me. There's not a Walmart within 100 miles of this guy's house. Now that's isolated. And he was telling me about all these old stories of basically a town that was right next to where he lived, not too far away, that was situated right on the border of Montana and Wyoming. He says back in the early turn of the century, one of the states, I can't remember which, was a dry state, and the other was, that you could drink in. And there was this old bar that was situated right on the state line, where you walked in the front part of the bar in a dry state, but if you walked to the back of the bar, you could drink at the back of the bar because it was in the state that would allow you to have alcohol. And of course, he's telling me about all the ghost stories of this old ghost town that this bar now sits at as we're rolling by on Christmas Day on the Amtrak going through the wilderness of Montana. I was just in hog heaven listening to his story up there in the observation car and surrounded by a snow scene like I was in the middle of a snow globe myself, you know?
That's, first of all, who thinks to build a bar right on a state line like that?
Oh, they specifically, I guess the owner of the property was quite shrewd, knew that he had probably most of his property on the dry state bar, but if he built and purchased the land on the other side of the state line, he knew he could make some money.
I guess that makes sense.
I think he was pretty shrewd back in those days, but consequently, this ended up being, my buddy Kevin is telling me, this ended up being one of the biggest brothels in the area. You know, people would come from all over the counties, you know, to drink there. And consequently, there were ghost stories, you know, in this old turn of the century frontier town because of it. Fascinating stuff.
Now, did you get to investigate any of these things on any of your stops? I know that the train doesn't typically stop for very long, but I also know that you had an opportunity to go out for pizza in New York, I believe it was.
Yes, you got it. Chicago, New York. You know, I got off the train and got to, you know, do a little sightseeing. Went to my old neighborhood that I grew up with as a young kid, about, you know, in grade school in New York City. But, you know, to tell you the truth, when my friend like Kevin was telling me these stories of this old ghost town, and we're going right past it on the train, you don't necessarily get to stop when you want to stop. You stop at the locations. So you look on your schedule and think, oh, well, my next stop is like 100 miles away down the road here, so I'm not going to be able to go back to that place. So you end up doing a little bit of internet search, you know, about the topic, and so that I could write about it in my blog, you know, about the towns and the paranormal locations I was going through. I was able and had plenty of time, which is kind of cool, to be able to do some research on some of these unique locations as I was traveling through them. And then write about them as well. But you're right. I didn't get a chance to really go out and do some follow-up investigations. And by the way, that's my next idea, buddy. You and I, and whoever wants to come along with us on the UFO I-Team, I want to make an expedition on a train, and I want to go to UFO hotspots and spend a day in each location, maybe overnight in each location before we go on to the next and have a town hall meeting, you know, solicit stories and, you know, expert witnesses and, you know, different kinds of things that wherever we go, that would be a fun trip to do.
I'm in. That would be a lot of fun, especially to take some of those trains down towards the Southwest. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Matter of fact, I totally cited my story, the Christmas story, Christmas on the Paranormal Express, on the Southwest Chief. Just because of that, because the Southwest Chief route goes right through Roswell, New Mexico, and Arizona, and all those places down south in the Southwest that have strange paranormal and UFO stories down there as well. I think it would be a fun trip to do, and I think potentially at one point we could get someone interested in filming the thing for a reality television special, of doing that, going to, I would think that you could call it the Paranormal Express, whatever, just going on a train as a romantic travel experience, going to, UFO and paranormal hotspots.
Oh, well, if you're going to film it, I probably can't do it because nobody wants to see my ugly mug on TV.
Oh, you kidding? You underestimate yourself, and it would be awesome.
Oh, I would be in for that in a heartbeat. But what's it like hearing these stories on a train? Because you have the mystique of the train and the mystery of the train. Do the stories impact you a little bit differently than they would, say, if you were just sitting at a diner or somebody walked up to you and started telling you these stories?
Oh, yes. Because basically there are announcements on the train as well. I forgot to tell you that not only is this a visual and sensual experience, the feel of riding on the train, there's also this oral kind of thing where periodically there is an announcement about the next stop coming up. A little bit about the town, and how long we're going to stay there, how long the stop is going to be, that kind of thing. And so as you're sitting there with whoever's telling you the story, all of a sudden in the back of their mind, they're realizing, oh, we're coming up to so-and-so town. And that prompts them to tell you the next story that they have in the back of their mind of, what happened at this next town or this next community across the state line, what paranormal activity and UFO sightings, were famous for that area. And there, of course, we're now traveling, Everett, on the northern route across the United States. It's called the Empire Builder to Chicago, and then it's called the Lakeshore Limited from Chicago to New York, and that mirrors the exact location where all of the Nike missile sites were sited close to the Canadian border that would supposedly protect the United States from the Soviet launching of nuclear warheads, back in the Cold War era. And so we're going by nuclear silos that I know from conferences that I've been to have been shut down by UFOs. We've all heard those stories where 10 flights of nuclear missiles, in Malmstrom Air Force Base was taken offline after a UFO hovered over the base and shot down laser beams into the missile silos. And so as we're going along this trip, I'm reminding myself that, oh my gosh, we are like retracing the Cold War missile sites all across the United States, close to the Canadian border as we're heading towards Chicago. So that added a little bit mystique to the trip as well. And of course, people on the train, if they're knowledgeable at all, would be talking about those stories, about UFOs interacting on Air Force and, even, Army bases and things all across the United States.
There seems like there is something a bit romantic about the idea of telling these stories on a train. It just seems like it would be...
Oh, yeah.
Like the old sitting around a campfire telling ghost stories kind of thing, but with people you maybe don't know that well.
Yes, it is. It's like, you're going to maybe a KOA campsite, And, there might be a community campfire going on that night, and you sit around the campfire, and maybe you get to know somebody, because they're playing a guitar or they're telling stories around the campfire. And literally, it's that feel of camaraderie on a train. That this person is not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere for the next few hours at least, and mostly probably the next few days. Both of you and this person you're conversing with are probably going to be on the train and going through remarkable scenery, through national parks, through forested areas of old growth trees, through prairies that you can see as far as you possibly can. You don't even see a cell tower in sight. All that kind of stuff just adds to the romance of not only telling a story to a friend or someone you meet, but listening to them tell their stories and talking about the locations that you're actually passing by just feet away outside the window of your passenger car. Fascinating experience.
Now, it seems like people that were on the train knew a lot about where it was and things that had happened along the route. What about people who were sharing their own experiences with you?
Yeah. People would constantly, when I'd pass out my card or get around to talking to them, they'll ask me, so what do you do? That kind of thing. And of course I tell them, well, I've been a general practice lawyer for over 35 years, but really I've always been interested in the paranormal and UFOs and Bigfoot. And all of a sudden we go, oh, well, I have a story for you, and all of a sudden I run across that.
Michael, I'm going to get you to hold on for 1 second before you start that story, because it's already time to go to another break. That was a quick half hour. So we are going to step out, and we'll be right back on Spaced Out Sundays.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for something new to push your limits? Look Beyond the Spectrum, a new docuseries featuring some of the best researchers in the world when it comes to everything from UFOs, government cover-ups, and strange humanoids. Truth seekers Stephen Bassett, Jeff Meldrum, Jack Casher, and Stanton Friedman, among others, all chip in to bring their knowledge to you. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon as well as Tubi TV. Tell us what you think on our Amazon page.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Sundays. I'm your host, Everett Thiemer. Thank you for spending your evening with us. Don't forget, if you've missed any part of the show, you can check out our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping in the SOR Vault, joining the Space Travelers Club, and so much more. Tonight, we're talking to Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer, and we're talking about his journey across the country on the rails. And I'll admit, I kind of pictured it as sitting in a cramped little seat eating some sort of gas station sandwich, but he's really given me and hopefully you guys a different view of this, and he's sharing some strange and spooky stories kind of from his trip and as a let's try this again. It was a long night. I don't know about you, Michael, but it's been a long day. There was this big sporting event on that we can't name it, but it was on all night. When you
took a lot out of
when you were riding on the train, and you've mentioned the observation deck quite a bit.
Yeah.
I have to ask, especially since you mentioned that you were traveling basically up by the border by the missile silos. Did you ever sit up there and just look at the skies and look for UFOs?
Oh, I did on many hour, especially during the daytime for sure. In the wintertime, by the way, my gosh, it's just crystal clear weather. Even during the daytime, there might be a few clouds, but I was running into sunshine and snow on the ground, for hours and days on end, which was, clear skies for sky watching. I didn't have any, I had my binoculars. I did bring those along with me. But on the UFO I-Team, we have a whole lot of exotic gear that we typically take to a sky watch. And I got to thinking, if I do this again, and I bring along some of the UFO I-Team members, some of our real techie guys with all the amazing gizmos and gear that they have, the observation car would be the perfect place to set up to do sky watches during the day and the evening time, because it's, like I said, wrap around windows that start from the floor level and go up all the way and then curve towards the top, and literally you can sit there and stare straight up from your seat and see the sky above the train as you go by. And of course, there's all the whole observation car is made of those windows, so it's a perfect place to have a sky watch. I didn't see anything unusual on my skywatch times when I was in the observation deck, although I sure was keeping my eyes peeled, especially at night as well, when you can see those anomalous objects and lights in the sky and maybe recognize that they're unique. Of course, I had my binoculars with me just in case, but I sure was keeping my eyes peeled for stuff. Mostly I had so much fun conversing with people that I was immersed in the conversations a lot, and I really didn't get a whole lot of alone time, other than the fact that I was, kind of keeping up with my blog periodically and writing my experiences as I was taking photographs outside the windows. Matter of fact, people can look at the Facebook page, Michael W. Hall on Facebook, or UFO I-Team on Facebook, and they can pick out and see some of the photos that I took, and maybe you can scan them for me and see if you see some anomalous objects in those photographs, because I haven't gone through all of them with a fine-tooth comb yet.
Hey, you took a lot of pictures, and there's a lot of really interesting, a lot of cool pictures on there.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I'm that kind of guy. I've always told my UFO I-Team members, if you didn't record it, it didn't happen.
Do you think, and I still want to hear some of these stories, but I have to ask, do you think that if you were to do something like a skywatch in the observation car of a train, does the movement hinder sightings a little bit? Does it make it more difficult to tell if something is an anomaly or if it's just a planet? I've never had the opportunity. Yeah. So do you think it would be a little bit more difficult than maybe standing in your backyard looking up at the sky?
Well, good point. It probably isn't going to. The only thing that it might affect would be potentially our time-lapse photography. We've got time-lapse cameras. We've got night vision. We've got FLIR photography. We have gear, by the way, where one of our members, Dave Mason, has invented a pair of binoculars that will literally take light like a point of light in the night sky and turn it into sound. Take that light frequency, turn it into sound so that we can run it through an oscilloscope. And then we can compare that with known objects that we already know about, like, satellites, the ISS space station, meteors, aircraft, those kinds of things. But here's the cool thing. I would love to get Dave Mason's audio frequency and binoculars on a train, because literally what he can do is when he finds an anomalous object in the binocular field, he can actually take the sound that it creates, and then he can turn it back into light frequency, that sound, and he can broadcast it back out to the source of that light where it's coming from. So literally, it's like a CE5 scenario where Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind is where humans initiate contact with anomalous objects or potentially alien beings. So you can imagine being a UFO flying around over our Skywatch site, whether it's on a train or in a stationary location, and all of a sudden your own light signature that you're giving off is being beamed right back to you. It would be a kind of an interesting contact moment, I think, and we're experimenting with that right now.
Oh, I think we've talked about that before. That is, it seems like it could be really cool, offer some really good potential.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is if we're doing a Skywatch on a train, my gosh, the coverage that we're going to be able to do, we're not just in one static location, right? We're moving hundreds of miles, down the rails on a relatively stable platform. And of course, when you're pointing your cameras to space, and up in the night sky, just a little bit of a rumble or vibration is not going to ruin anything as far as your recording. So it's something to think about. I think that's a great idea.
I bet that works out and turns out to be a lot of fun. But you're traveling along. When do you get to Wisconsin? You mentioned Montana and traveling up along the border there. Then you at some point have to start curving down towards Wisconsin, and the Midwest is where I know my haunted stories. That's kind of my wheelhouse, to use a train term. So did you have anybody from Wisconsin there? Did you hear about any weird things that maybe took place on or near the tracks or anything traveling that way?
I'm trying to remember if there's a Wisconsin paranormal story that I heard. I'm sure there are, because there's quite a few of them on my blog post. I just can't quite remember which one might be tied with Wisconsin, other than the fact that I always ran across people that I talked to that were seeing unique lights in the night sky. Some people, even in the Midwest, like Wisconsin, would tell me stories that they had an amazing experience with a very up close and startling red light that seemed to follow them down a highway, a local, not a freeway, but, a local 2-lane state route kind of a thing in the middle of the night. And these things appeared in front of them so close that they couldn't make out any shape. It was so bright, this object. And then, of course, they always tell this, not always, but typically they'll tell us a story that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because I always ask them, well, what happened next? And then they say, well, I don't really remember, but it was very impressive and scared the heck out of me. I almost turned around and tried to go back, in my car, but I decided just to keep going straight ahead. And then typically what I'll do, Everett, is I'll say, well, tell me how it left. And that's when I find the stories really get down a rabbit hole. They'll say, I can't really, I mean, just was not there any longer, that kind of thing that they will tell you. And all of a sudden you realize that there's some gaps in this guy's story, this woman's story, or whatever, of a very dramatic sighting, in the middle of nowhere on a 2-lane road in Wisconsin, that all of a sudden they don't know the details of, and let alone they have some potential missing time as well. I always ask them, did you experience any missing time? Was there any strangeness about how long it took you to get there? And a lot of people are very, if they don't have a specific story that, when I got there, everybody's wondering where I was. The anomalies that they kind of relate to you in the story are very fuzzy. And that is a typical story that you will find all across the Midwest. And of course, people are just sitting there on a train feeling comfortable telling you stories. You're telling them stories. And these things just start leaking out. I was hearing those stories all along the upper portion of the United States on my way to Chicago.
Now, where are we in the timeline? You're in Wisconsin. Is this the day after Christmas? Is it?
This would be probably, I believe I pulled into Chicago on the 27th. So this would have been like 2 days after Christmas. And I'm still on the train.
And you're still heading east.
I'm still heading east. And by the way, the whole perspective of how large the United States is gets driven home very quickly when you're on the train.
I can imagine.
It's not like, in 3 hours, maybe 4 hours at the most, you got to wait on a plane and all of a sudden you're on the East Coast, right? This is taking days to get there, literally. And you kind of get into a rhythm of the rails and, the feeling of the swing, the gentle swaying of the cars. And the people, the way you talk to one another, you've got plenty of time, so you take your time and tell the story. So it is fascinating when you realize, oh my word, this is a big country we live in, and people are always talking about how crowded, everything is and how the traffic is, in certain metropolitan locations. Man, I'll tell you what, you can go out there in the middle of Wisconsin and Montana and all those places, Illinois, and all of a sudden you realize as far as you can see and as far as you want to see for hours on end, there's nothing, literally nothing to see. It's quite amazing when you get out there.
It is, and I totally understand that. I can go from working, in the morning, being right at the lake, right near where you came in at Union Station.
Yeah.
To that evening, if I need to go get bread or butter or anything like that, I'm about 25 minutes away from what you would consider the traditional grocery store.
Wow.
So I understand it's a big country.
Yeah. And, my friend Kevin from Glasgow, Montana, he told me about this whole thing. It's nothing for him and his wife to drive 70 miles for a pizza.
That sounds about right.
No, they don't have a problem with that. Jump in the truck. They're going to go maybe do some shopping when they get there anyway, get some staples, but they're going to go and they're going to have a great pizza at this pizza joint they really like to go, and they'll go 70 miles, no problem.
That sounds about right. Now, in Wisconsin, did you stop in Milwaukee or anywhere, or was it pretty much a direct...
No, we stopped in Milwaukee. I remember that for sure. Matter of fact, there was a layover of about an hour in Milwaukee, maybe longer than that, where we're sitting there on the rail in the Milwaukee train station. You could get off, and some people got off and have a smoke. Some people got off and did some. You know what I did in Milwaukee? You're going to love this, buddy. I literally, at that point, I realized, oh my word, I have got too much junk with me. I overpacked, right? They always say bring, half the clothes and twice the money, that kind of thing. Well, I was schlepping around so much stuff that I decided I was going to go to the train station in Milwaukee, which is really a beautiful train station, really nice location. And they have a wonderful post office right there in the train station. I literally mailed home 50 pounds in a big box that I bought there at the post office, 50 pounds worth of gear, electronic gear and computer gear and junk and clothing that I knew I didn't need because it was just too much stuff to schlep around. So that's one of my main things is I realized real quickly I planned on my packing of this stuff. You can literally get away with just a backpack, and maybe, my electronic gear that I'm bringing aboard for podcasting might have a little bag, a carry bag, but that's about it. You could survive real well with some extra snacks and food and, a change of clothes, a towel, whatever you want, So that's one thing I learned on my trip.
How much does it cost to ship 50 pounds of stuff back home?
It cost me $50. Literally about $1 a pound. I couldn't believe it. But you know what? It was worth it for me because, oh man, it freed myself up. My, when I knew I was going to get to Chicago and Union Station soon. And I knew I was going to have to change trains in Union Station. And I was going to have to spend a few hours there, guarding my stuff. And so,
yeah, in Chicago, you got to guard your stuff.
You got to guard your stuff. And fortunately, there's an easy way of doing that with the locker system that they've got there. Very inexpensive. For about, I think, $20, I stored all my gear for hours on end, in the locked area there in Union Station so that I could wander around, and sightsee and do my podcast, in Union Station with all the Christmas decorations. And we got to get into that soon because I just was in hog heaven when I got to Chicago. It was beautiful.
Oh, we're going to get into that after the break because you've kind of hit the Great Lakes section of the trip. And
yes.
There is a lot of mystery surrounding all of the Great Lakes. There's all kinds of paranormal stories from the Lake Michigan Triangle to lake monsters to ghost stories in the cities along the rails. And I'm sure that you had to have both enjoyed and heard some of these tales.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was just an amazing destination to be heading towards, for the holidays, by the way. And it was just a fascinating combination of, timing and meeting people, and the location that you were at was quite unique and paranormal in itself.
Well, let's kick it off here. If you have something, we got a couple of minutes here before we have to go to break. Out of sort of on that rail line between Milwaukee and Wisconsin, or I'm sorry, Milwaukee and Chicago. There's a lot of history on that rail line.
Well, let's talk about probably if we've got a minute here, we've got the most famous Allen Hynek UFO story comes from Michigan. Let's put it that way. The whole swamp gas thing, the debacle, that happened, which they're talking about now on Project Blue Book, by the way. I think they've gotten to the point where they're actually going to have an episode on J. Allen Hynek's, the astronomer's big faux pas in Michigan, where he claimed that people were seeing swamp gas instead of UFOs back in the 60s. And of course, back then, Gerald Ford was a congressperson who took umbrage at that because the law enforcement community was all up in arms, thinking that this, U.S. Air Force consultant was coming up into their neck of the woods up there in Michigan and telling them they didn't know what they saw, as far as these famous lights in the night sky and these low-level landings. And, of course, that's the time frame right there that turned Dr. J. Allen Hynek around and became, instead of a skeptic, he started really looking into this thing because he realized that these people were actually seeing UFOs, craft that were unexplained, and Project Blue Book took a kind of a turn for reality after that. And the Michigan sightings right there all along, Lake Superior and the triangle that you're talking about where mysterious ships are disappearing, just like in the Bermuda Triangle. The Bigfoot sightings up there are extraordinary, by the way. Fascinating stories of the cryptids, Dogman even, and those kinds of issues as well in those high forested areas of the UP, in Upper Peninsula and in Michigan. And gosh, I've got lots of stories that I've heard about those things. And of course, I've heard many of them over the years as well. So we can get into more detail depending on, what kind of the side of that side of the break we want to do it on.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely touch on some of that because the UP is one of those. It's not exactly sort of a lost gem anymore because they do have a couple of rather large paracons up there. But at the same time, you can go down an old logging road and run into a guy who's lived there for 70 years, and you talk to him for a couple of minutes, and he's got a story to tell you. Almost everybody has one of those weird sighting stories, whether it be a cryptid of some sort or a UFO or some sort of landing, that in a way it seems odd that more isn't coming out of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan because there is so much, there are so many people up there who have these stories, and if you talk to them a little bit, a lot of them are willing to tell them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. And let alone, I always thought it was kind of unique that that beautiful film and that story called Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour, that was sightest right there on Mackinac Island, in Lake Huron up there in the UP, about the story of a guy who falls in love with a photograph of a woman who lived 100 years before him. And then he wills himself back in time to go meet her. I thought it was fantastic that they cited that story right there in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan because of all the strange paranormal activity that's already there as well.
Michael, we've got to step out for yet another break. These segments are just going so quick. But I will tell you that I once drove to the UP for pizza. It was a little more than 70 miles, but we did it. we did do it. We'll be right back on Spaced Out Sunday.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I'm bringing you the Woo every Monday through Friday on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going all out to bring you the strangest, oddest stories and subjects I could find for your entertainment. Why? Because when we hit peak Woo, I know I've done my job. So come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, and together, my friends, we own the night.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
come hang out with me, Little Richie G, as I take over the airwaves on Spaced Out Saturdays. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm going to bring you the most fun on the radio you can have with your clothes on. We're going to get to the heart of the subjects from UFOs to what's going on in the paranormal and everything in between. So come join me at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, for the fastest 3 hours of your week.
I'm remembering who I am. My hands can feel good. I'm free. I'm remembering who I am. My hands can feel good. I'm free. I'm remembering who I am. My hands can feel good. I'm free. I'm remembering who I am.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Sunday. I'm your host, Everett Thiemer. Thank you for spending your evening with us. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. For our digital listeners, we are on Kingdom of Nye Radio and Revolution Radio. And don't forget, you can check out our archives for free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping in the SOR vault where you need to get a sweatshirt. It's that time of the year. It's humid. It's cold. The weather's always changing. You need something to keep yourself warm, and it should be a Team Stump one. It needs to be a Team Stump one. I'm just telling you. But you can find the SOR Newswire and the We Read Tonight section there too, and so much more. Tonight we're talking with the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall, and we are talking about his journey across the country, and he's taken us from Washington to Wisconsin so far. And Michael, I'm really interested and excited to hear about the rest of your journey. If people want to follow along or get a little bit more information on this, where can they find it?
Oh, I'd be honored if they just check it out on Facebook at Michael W. Hall on Facebook, or the UFO I-Team on Facebook. Both of those have got all the blogs that I did for the holiday train trip. And the story of Christmas on the Paranormal Express, and all the pictures and the things that I wrote about, the travel across the entire country from Seattle to the Big Apple and back on the Amtrak train. It was an awesome experience for the holidays.
That's cool. And if we have time, I'd like you to read at least a little excerpt of your story. But the thing is that talking about the journey itself is so fascinating that I'm hoping we don't run out of time. But you know how it goes. We never know where these conversations are going to go. And
no problem. People can read the whole story on Facebook real easily at those two websites. So that'd be easy too. I could read a couple paragraphs to get people's interest up if you'd like later on. But we got lots of stuff to talk about. We got to talk about Chicago and what that was like.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? You've already mentioned Milwaukee, so let's talk about the trip to Chicago and what you experienced in Chicago, because that's technically, I mean, if I tell somebody where I'm from, I tell them Chicago because that's the closest town anybody's going to have heard of. And I've spent a lot of time there, so I kind of consider it a little bit of an adoptive home.
Oh, definitely. It's just the Windy City. Oh my goodness. It's just, and can you imagine Chicago at Christmas time? It's just beautiful. Literally, I'm rolling into Union Station in Chicago, one of the largest train stations, transportation hubs in the entire country, by the way, as you well know. My gosh, buses, trains, mass transit, Everything comes into Union Station there. And I'm coming in there late at night. It's close to 11 o'clock p.m. probably when I get into the station, and I have to get off the train. Everybody gets off the train in Chicago because that's where the ending terminus is for the Empire Builder. And, of course, then I got to get on the other train to go to New York City. But I've got about a 5-hour layover in Chicago. And that's going to take me like most of the night, just kind of sitting around, in Union Station, guarding my gear or whatever. But I found out that you can just, there's a really beautiful lounge there for the Amtrak passengers that's free. All you got to do is show them your ticket. Show them where you're going to go next, and they have some free snack food there for you, free drinks, and you can just sit there, and free Wi-Fi, by the way. I mean, just sitting there, and I did a couple podcast interview shows where I was a guest right there from Union Station in the Amtrak lounge. It was kind of fun. So that was great. But when I got in there with all my gear and I checked it into the lounge, I decided to make a little, sightseeing trip through Union Station first, because I wanted to see this glorious, beautiful, old, high-arched building like you wouldn't believe, foyer and, the Great Hall. I come around the corner and I'm heading towards what they call the Great Hall, which literally is probably 100 feet tall ceiling, the vaulted ceilings, almost like a cathedral in there. And I noticed there is the biggest, most beautiful Christmas tree I have ever seen in my life, bigger than Rockefeller Center, let's put it that way, sitting inside the Great Hall of Union Station. I mean, it's not a real tree, but it's just a beautifully done Christmas tree that's artificial, but you would never know it. And it has huge, giant ornaments and ornaments everywhere on the tree, lights and everything. I just was awestruck with the scene of not only the tree, but giant wreaths, hanging on the walls in the Great Hall. Wreaths that were probably 12 feet in diameter, kind of wreaths for Christmas. Then at the far end of the Great Hall, I was just blown away with the fact that they literally had a full-scale model of the Polar Express locomotive sitting right there in the lobby with a Christmas scene around it, all sorts of giant toys that are wrapped up in boxes, Christmas trees and snow on the ground. And it was as if you were that little boy that opens his front door in the movie and sees the giant steaming locomotives standing out in front of his house, because this thing is huge. It's just sitting there, and they've got a conductor inside the cab and everything, and dressed up like Tom Hanks was, in the movie. And then on top of that, they have a full-blown gift shop that's all themed for the Polar Express. Oh, and Everett, I've got to show on my Facebook feed right now my one and only souvenir that I purchased while I was in Union Station at the Polar Express gift shop. It is literally a pocket watch that says Polar Express, a gold pocket watch that I'm showing right now on the camera. And it works. It's a beautiful watch. On the front part of it's got a little picture of the Polar Express train locomotive. And on the back side, it's got a beautiful scenery of like a compass with the letters PE for Polar Express. I spent $40 whole on this pocket watch because I said, I need a souvenir of this wonderful scene for Christmas that I ran across in Chicago at Union Station.
Well, they do it right there, don't they? It is just
Yes.
a beautiful sight when you go in there. Now, when you were at Union Station and you were in the Amtrak lounge, did you have anybody come up to you and want to share any of the history or weird stories of Union Station?
I didn't, because I'll tell you what happened was is I was doing, I was setting up for to be a guest on Matt Bennett and Kelly Steffens' Introspection Radio out of the Midwest for a show. And so I was scurrying around to make sure I had the Wi-Fi, make sure I had my gear all set up. And so I was kind of like concentrating on just being available for about 2 hours to do a podcast interview. And so I didn't get a chance to kind of get to know a lot of folks there in Chicago in the station. But literally, there were hundreds and hundreds of people in that station wandering around or waiting for their next connection to go either east or west, out of Union Station. It was just a mass bustle. You can well imagine, 2 days after Christmas, probably some of the busiest travel days in the year. And here I am in Union Station doing a podcast, a radio interview.
Well, that place is always busy. It is always jumping.
Yes, and literally people from around the world. And I didn't realize this, Everett, but I'll tell you what, the most fascinating part of my trip, one of the most fascinating parts of my trip, was traveling with the Amish friends that were traveling on the railroad. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but the Amish people don't take airplanes. They don't take buses typically, but they will travel by train. And literally, they were clans of Amish people dressed in their traditional garb, their wide brim hats, and very pleasant people. But many of them are speaking Pennsylvania Dutch. And it's like almost going back in time when you're sitting there embedded into a group while you're waiting for the next, train to get hooked up on, and just kind of absorbing the whole atmosphere of them traveling and talking to one another and them being excited where they're going, that kind of thing for the holidays. I really enjoyed that.
That had to be an interesting experience.
Yes.
Even if you couldn't understand all that they were saying, I can understand how it would feel like you had traveled back in time.
Oh, at one point, Everett, I was literally on the train before I got even to Chicago, and I had fallen asleep. And of course, you never know from stop to stop who literally will be sitting next to you, because, maybe the seat partner that's there is going to get off at the next stop. I literally fell asleep for an hour or so, and I woke up, and all of a sudden I look around me, and the gentleman sitting right next to me is a young Amish boy, probably in his mid-20s. And all around me, I am surrounded by probably 25 Amish, old Amish believers. And they're talking, and I just waking up from this fuzz of my midday nap, and I realized, oh my goodness, I am embedded now in an Amish community. I had no idea what happened while I was sleeping, and I just had a blast. Just sitting, I was just minding my own business. They were very nice and friendly and gregarious amongst themselves, and didn't mind at all that this Englishman, they call me, the English, anybody that's not Amish, was sitting there in the midst of them, and I was just enjoying it.
Now, were they aware of your paranormal interests?
No, I didn't. I didn't want to go that far. I didn't want to put them off, by the way. I wanted to, I shared a few things that I had in my little snack thing, and I was interested to see them do what they do, because I didn't want to interrupt them. And literally, they were very minimalistic. I mean, they were traveling with maybe a tote bag, and they would pull out a mason jar with like homemade fruit cocktail that they made themselves and diced up and put together. They would have wonderful food. I remember the young gentleman sitting next to me pulled out a Tupperware thing that he had slices, big, thick slices of whole grain bread that he would put real cheese on. I mean, slices of real cheese that was not like, super yellow. It was like, that this was like the real thing that was churned, and salami and those kinds of things. And he would just eat it, not like a sandwich, just a piece of bread and some cheese and some salami, and just have a snack that way. I was fascinated to see how simply and easily they traveled and moved through their life. It was fascinating.
Wow. So you pull out of Chicago, and now you're hitting. You're basically on the south side of the Great Lakes, and
yes,
there is all kinds of mystery surrounding the Great Lakes.
Oh my! I immediately thought of Gordon Lightfoot. You remember the wreck of the Edmunds Fitzgerald, right? Wonderful old folk song in the old days of one of my favorite balladeers, Gordon Lightfoot from Canada, and the whole idea that these lakes that literally like oceans, literally they're so far, so huge you can't see the opposite shore. And the storms that will whip up out of middle of nowhere, taking ships down to the bottom, just with the weather, let alone.
Lake Superior never gives up its dead.
That's exactly what they say, right? It's just a fascinating experience to be in the middle of the United States and realize that you're staring at an ocean outside the window of your train as you're traveling along, an ocean that's not very hospitable in some regards, and you're still talking, hurricane, tornado territory out there in the Midwest. So they've got some strange things that go along out in that neck of the woods that we don't experience at all on the West Coast, let alone down south sometimes. So Southwest. That was fascinating. I didn't get a chance. I don't remember any paranormal stories that I heard on the train during that part of the trip. I was pretty much concentrating on that point, getting all excited to go to New York City. Once I left Chicago, I go, oh my gosh, the Big Apple is only like a couple days away. And literally, this is going back home for me. For when I was a child living in New York City, when my dad went to Columbia University to get his doctorate in education, and growing up in a section of Manhattan right across from Columbia University, that a guy in my neighborhood that I grew up with, George Carlin, believe it or not, nicknamed White Harlem. And so I'm just going, oh my, I'm getting real. I had not been back to New York City in 50 years, Everett. Literally, since the 50s, 1958 to 1965, I lived in New York City on West 121st Street. And so I am thinking to myself, I'm almost there. I just left the big, windy city, and now I'm going to the Big Apple. And I was getting quite excited. It was a lot of fun to anticipate what was going to be happening when I got there.
Now, I know when you got to New York, you went and had some pizza. So I have to ask, while you were in Chicago, did you have the chance to have any pizza, even though it was late at night? We have, late night pizza places.
Oh yeah. You got to have a Chicago pizza for sure. You got to have the I mean, and here's the cool thing: that in Chicago and in New York and those kinds of things, you buy a slice of pizza. You go and you buy yourself a pizza and something to drink, right? And you think out here on the West Coast, a slice of pizza, yeah, that's not enough, right? A slice of pizza is like a quarter of a pizza out there in Chicago. I mean, it's like,
as it should be.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, these are like, 24-inch pizzas. This is a huge pizza, and they cut it in four parts, and they give you like this giant wedge of thin sliced pizza. You can relate to thin crust pizza, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, a lot of people will have a pizza that's like drowned in dough, and they can get away with not so much condiments, not so much meat, not so much cheese. My goodness, these things are thicker than anything, and it's just a thin crust. There's gobs of cheese on there. There's gobs of pepperoni and, sausages or whatever you want. Typically, I would get what they call the meat lover's special. I just look around to find out how much meat can I put on I'm getting the one with all the meat on there because I want to get a little taste of everything. You buy the pizza, and what's the first thing you do? You fold it in half, right? Well, that's the way you eat it. Chicago pizza.
I'll tell you a little secret. While most of the world thinks we argue Chicago style pizza versus New York style pizza, and of course Chicago style is better, but here in Chicago we have our own kind of secret argument or secret fight amongst the masses. That is, whether it's the pie cut or what they call the tavern cut, which most people would say the squares. And it's a big fight here that has absolutely nothing to do with the paranormal. But it's one of those things that you will get into fights over how your pizza should be cut here in the Chicago area.
I mean, you got purists out there. On both sides of the fence, you got purists, I'll bet,
Same thing with our hot dogs, too. Don't mess with those.
Oh, man. Yes, exactly. And the cool thing about Chicago and New York City, you can eat anywhere you want. There are street vendors with the best hot dogs in the entire planet, with pretzels, soft pretzels that you can put mustard all over, all sorts of baklava, and Asian food, whatever you want. It's right there on the street corner in a cart, covered up with an umbrella. Even if it's raining, you can stand there and eat your lunch, your dinner, whatever you want, for a couple bucks right there on the street corner.
That's the beauty of living in a metropolis, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Where I'm at, we travel 70 miles for a pizza.
Exactly, like my buddy from Glasgow, Montana. What the heck?
Michael, I'm going to get you to hold on again. I can't believe that segment is over. This is just flying by. So we're going to step out for a quick break, our final break, and we will be right back on Spaced Out Radio.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Move over, brother, and let me own Saturday night. This is Rich Giordano, and I'm inviting you to tune on in to Spaced Out Saturdays starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern, where I'm going to bust open the lids on everything paranormal. Why? Because we want answers, and I'm the guy who's going to deliver those answers to you. Join the chat rooms, and we'll see you this Saturday. Just be there. No, really.
Are you addicted to the woo? Good. Me too. This is Dave Scott, and you can woo it up with me every Monday through Friday, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, for 3 hours of great entertainment in the subjects you love. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, intuition. Yes, we hit it all 5 days a week. Look for us at spacedoutradio.com, where together, my friends, we own the night.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hey Spaced Out Radio fans, it's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Sundays. I'm your host, Everett Thiemer, and it's hard to believe the show is almost over. But don't forget, if you've missed any part of the show, you can check out our archives for free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do us the favor and hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to some Bumblefoot, shopping in the SOR Vault, joining the Space Travelers Club, and so much more. For the last time tonight, we're joined by Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer, and he's been telling us about his journey across the country, and we've been talking about some strange and weird things, as well as a little bit about Christmas, because it's still wintry and kind of Christmassy out there, and hopefully we all bring that feeling, a little bit longer into the winter. But Michael, before the show ends, because it's going to happen quick, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, with spending all this time on these trains, did you get to know any of the train employees in a way that they might share something with you that maybe the general public wouldn't know about, some of the weird stories or weird places along the routes?
Yes, I did. Let me just cut to the chase on a really interesting story that happened to me. And this would have been on the way back from New York City, heading back west now, heading towards, I believe I was past Chicago, even in the Midwest again. Literally, I lost my iPhone one night. Can you imagine me, the podcaster, doing everything on my phone, including thumbing my blog and my novels right there? I literally lost my phone on the train. It fell out of I put it on my seat, on my lap, and I had it hooked into the wall to be charged, and then I fell asleep. And when I got up to go to the restroom in the middle of the night, I forgot my phone was on my lap, and I literally drug the phone halfway down the aisle before it kicked off into the corner somewhere. And I come and find out later on that I couldn't find my phone, and I panicked. I mean, it's like 3 a.m, and I'm going, oh no. I mean, every picture I took, all the blog posts that I was creating right there on the phone, and I was just panicking. Finally, I'm down on my hands and knees looking for the thing, and I don't want to wake up anybody. It's in the middle of the night. And one of the guys that are seated around the area that I was at sees me looking around. He says, did you lose that phone? And I go, yeah. He says, the conductor picked it up. And I go, oh. I was kind of relieved, but now I'm trying to think, oh my gosh, where's the conductor? It's in the middle of the night. And by the way, the shifts change on these things in the middle of the night, the train. So the conductor that potentially picked it up might not be the conductor that's now on board, the train. So literally I go find the conductor and I plead with the guy. He is not the guy who found my phone. So my heart sinks and I'm going, oh no. And I talk with him a little bit, and I'm in the dining car. It's not dining time. It's in the middle of the night, but that's kind of where a lot of the employees hang out at late hours. And I give him my card. And of course, I write my name and I make sure I have my phone number on there in case he wants to call my phone and try to find out where it is, or if he finds it. And literally he sees my card and he says, oh, you're a paranormal lawyer? And I go, yeah. Now here's the weird thing. Come to find out, this guy, a conductor on the Burlington Northern Amtrak, went to law school. Literally in the Midwest himself. He's a law school graduate. And he's telling me that, right out of law school, he had a job working for a larger firm. They were going to pay him a certain amount of money. But his relatives, his father worked on the railway for, his whole career. His father got him a job on the railroad that made a lot more money than he was going to earn as a lawyer. So he ended up being a conductor. Oh my, what a story that was. So I'm sitting there trying to, cajole the guy. I'm still kind of, feeling bad because I don't have my phone. I don't know if I'm going to find my phone. And he literally tells me the story. He says, it's funny that you're interested in that because I have always been interested in that paranormal UFO stuff myself. Here is a conductor on the Burlington Northern, went to law school, and literally he could have been a paranormal lawyer like myself, I suppose, always interested in this kind of field there. And so he's telling me about not necessarily the strange stories that he knows about on the train or the railroad, but just the idea that he saw some strange lights in the sky when he was a kid that he's never forgotten about. He relayed to me a UFO sighting that he could not explain and never could throughout his lifetime. And he knew the story so vividly and so strikingly in detail that I could tell as a young person, this made a very big impact on him, realizing that there are strange things out there in the world, as you grow up that you can't understand and that grown-ups can't even explain to you. So that was a fascinating story, talking with a conductor on the Burlington Northern, about 3 a.m. in the morning, waiting for my phone to be found. And he found the phone, thank God. About an hour later, I go back to my seat, and he wakes me up, and he shows me the phone. He says, "Here you go." I was so relieved, and I thanked him so much, and I told him to give me a call if he ever had any legal question that he wanted to have answered.
That had to be a little bit like a minor heart attack.
Oh, my. Because my entire law office, my entire life is on my phone, Everett, as you know, and it's just so important. And I've never really gotten that close to losing it that much. I'm keep good tabs on it. But when you're on a new situation, you're doing something different than your normal routine. I think you got to be careful out there in the big world that you keep your eye on your stuff, because it was my fault. I just dropped it.
Right. Before we run out of time, I want to shift gears here a little bit because we talked about this off the air, I think a week or two ago. And that is the story I saw that came out of Arizona. It was early in January that in 2019 there had only been 222 UFO reports reported to the reporting center in Peter Davenport.
Yeah.
And that number seems very low to me.
Yeah. Well, and since we've spoken about that, it was a concern of mine as well. I actually talked with Peter myself. I mean, I've been Peter's lawyer for well over 25 years and helped him with the business, the National UFO Reporting Center. I even helped him purchase an abandoned Nike missile site in eastern Washington, where he's headquartered his database nowadays and stuff.
It's the perfect place for it.
Oh, yeah. An abandoned Nike missile site 80 feet down into the ground with, reinforced concrete. It's just an awesome place. Anyway, he told me, he says, I've got to apologize. He says, the holidays were very, very busy for me. A lot of sightings and stuff. And so what happened was he got backlogged in getting the sighting reports up to his website. Newfork.org is his National UFO Reporting Center.com website. And so it took him the whole month of January to catch up on the reports that had come in, because literally Peter Davenport goes through every report, make sure that it's a legitimate report, and make sure that it's legitimately written by the reporter who fills in the online reporting form so that people can understand what they're reading. And he literally doesn't edit it, but he makes sure that people are understanding what they're trying to say on these report forms. So it's all up to him. He's the yeoman's duty for all these decades of getting all this reports out. So in reality, I don't know that there was a major dip at all during the holidays or the last part of the 2019 with reports. It's just that sometimes they lag behind about a month or so before he can get them up there, on his website.
And he's pretty open about that because he's doing it essentially alone. And I think if you read on the website, he does state on there somewhere that it may not be posted right away. He does have a backlog. But my concern or my question was, if I remember correctly, this article was published, I want to say January 10th. And it just feels to me like whoever wrote the article didn't do their homework, because it's very easy to see on the website where he states that there may be a backlog or that he's behind a bit. But they were kind of publicizing the idea that, well, there had been just over only 200 sightings in Arizona. And I looked at it, and I will tell you, my first thought was, even though I know that the National UFO Reporting Center is usually a little bit behind, and that's not taking away from him, because he does so much work that it's understandable to be behind. But it was, to me, the way they were portraying it was that it was like they were trying to spin it that the number was down for some reason.
Yeah, and I see that periodically with people that come across with articles that have an agenda, and that happens in this field. It's just a crazy idea where anybody can write a blog or write a story, put a byline on there, and look like it's real news and stuff without having to get into the details or explaining what's really going on, because there's a whole lot of folks out there that don't want this truth to get out there. They want people to not go to the website and check things out for themselves.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. I think there are people out there that well, to a certain extent, I think they don't do their homework. I have a feeling that in this case, somebody just waited till the year ended and went through and counted the cases by each month and didn't factor in that the year had just ended and he was a bit backlogged, and just counted them and wrote their story.
Yeah. And to tell you the truth, I think the opposite is really going on here. I think because of the mainstream media feeling so comfortable nowadays, of reporting UFO activity and paranormal events, with the Navy coming out, talking about the Tic Tac UFO Nimitz encounter, the brand new guidelines for Navy personnel to report UFOs, and the Air Force talking about the gun camera footage, on the East Coast, 2015. I think more and more people are feeling comfortable, almost vindicated sometimes, in coming forth now and telling their stories. There's lots of folks that are talking about reports that might be historic to them. They might have had a sighting 20 years ago, and they're now feeling comfortable coming forth and talking about it. And we see that all the time now on the UFO I-Team. When we go to conferences, our desk, our booth is inundated typically with people that just have to tell us their story, because that's what they feel is important nowadays, because they hear it on Fox News. They hear it on MSNBC. They see it in the mainstream New York Times and, all these newspapers nowadays. So it's fascinating how quickly things are changing. And I believe it's now being green-lighted by the Pentagon level, maybe even higher than that, to get the word out on what's really going on.
Do you think the mainstream coverage has encouraged people to maybe skywatch a little bit, keep an eye out up to the sky a little bit more? Maybe somebody that normally would just dismiss it and pay no attention to what's above them might be looking to the skies a little more now?
Well, I think so. When you show that gun camera footage of a Tic Tac shaped UFO that's 40 foot long, no appendages on it, no wings, no no thrust being shown on the FLIR photography. That sure gets people's curiosity up, I believe, especially when you've got Navy pilots like Commander David Fravor and, naval personnel like Petty Officer Kevin Day, who was on the radar at the time at the Nimitz encounter, saying that these things were traveling from a height level of 80,000 feet down to the surface of the ocean in 0.78 seconds. Hypersonic, less than a second, traveling that fast for that long. All of a sudden, people are going, oh my, maybe I need to pay more attention to some of those anomalous lights in the night sky that I'm seeing, or even during the daytime that I'm noticing, and maybe make a report now, rather before they would, because Peter Davenport has always said that he thinks he only gets about 1 in 20,000 actual sighting reports of people that see something. Only 1 in 20,000 or so will actually fill out a report form.
I think it's a little higher than that now. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I think it's a little bit higher.
Yeah, I would hope so.
You spend a lot of time out in the field, sky watching, looking for UFOs, and I guess I just want to ask, because it's so easy to do in the summertime, but is there something, or are there some things that people should be looking for differently, trying to watch the skies during the winter? I mean, other than, putting on a heavier coat or something like that, is there a different tactic to watching the skies in say, the wintertime versus the summer?
Well, there is, and it's kind of like a two-prong approach, because when the weather is clear, clear winter night sky is some of the best sky watching atmosphere that you can see, because it's so crystal clear. The stars seem much closer, and there's not so much heat pollution or any smog and those kinds of things to stand in the way of what you're actually seeing. So you'll see the stars twinkle. You'll see the flickering, of certain light frequencies. So those are a good thing to watch for in the winter night sky. And then again, even if it's overcast, there's a cloud level layer there. Many UFOs have been sighted on cloudy days below the cloud level at low altitudes. So that's something to keep in mind, is that when there's a cloud cover, that should not discourage you from looking up and kind of scanning around periodically, because the contrast between maybe the darker clouds that are on a winter day makes any kind of aerial phenomenon much easier to see on those kinds of things, rather than you've got infinity behind it and no perspective, of how far away the object might be. So there's kind of like, opportunities in the wintertime for good sky watching. Binoculars are important to have with you in your car, just in case you see something. Pull over the side of the road, make it safe, but, keep your cell phone charged and ready to go. Yeah, and by the way, one thing I will always want to tell people, if you're going to take a video of an anomalous object, please turn it to landscape mode. Don't do it in portrait, because it cuts off the sides of your video and you don't get a perspective that you really can get in better in landscape. That's important.
Michael, it's hard to believe, but the show is over.
Wow.
I can't believe it's been 3 hours already. Can you tell people for one final time where they can find your story, your books, and your work?
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, we've got the Facebook pages at Michael W. Hall on Facebook, UFO I-Team with a lowercase I on Facebook, and you can always check out YouTube UFO I-Team as well. We've got lots of video up there of anomalous objects that I think people will be very interested in seeing. And of course, the story, Christmas on the Paranormal Express. You can read that at your leisure on those Facebook pages as well.
And I had really hoped that we would have time to read some of that on the show, but this just
problem.
This just went so quick. It's kind of hard to believe it's over.
Oh, we were having a lot of fun reminiscing, and thank you for going with me down that rabbit hole on the what I call the Paranormal Express across the country for the holidays.
Well, Michael, if you can hold on for 1 second, I'm going to start finishing this because, well, Dave's going to kick me out of here pretty soon.
Great.
Hold on 1 second. We've got Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. A special thank you to everyone listening in at home, in your cars, at work, in our chat rooms, and wherever you may be. Remember, this show is copywritten by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures. Thanks for sharing your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to get us out of here.